When I first moved into this house more than 20 years ago, as you can see from this photograph, the garden was just a bare farmer's field. And I decided that I would create a garden which would include a sort of formal area, vegetable and fruit growing area, and a large area to provide cover for wildlife. That was the idea. So we'll just go outside and have a look around the garden, and I'll point out the various features and the reasons why I put them there. So this is the formal area of the garden. It's quite small. It's the original garden in the house, and it's surrounded by a yew hedge. It's mainly for decoration, but it acts as a windbreak, and being evergreen, it gives shelter to the birds in winter time. And this is just a little preformed pond, and it contains newts and lots of invertebrates. I see the occasional dragonfly whizzing about, and at one end is a very simple knocked up fountain, and lots of birds use the fountain for bathing and for drinking. And the pond also, lots of insects, namely bees and wasps, take water from it to provide for their offspring back in their sort of nest. This is the vegetable and fruit growing region of the garden. There's strawberries and onions over there, and some potatoes and some asparagus. I don't grow many vegetables these days. They're a lot of trouble. Now it is surrounded with a large thorn hedge, which you can see there. This takes a lot of managing, a lot of cutting twice a year. But it also acts as a windbreak. It's a very breezy place here. And being a thorn hedge, it also provides nesting sites for things like blackbirds and thrushes. They're like thorny hedges. There's also, in this part, sort of lots of evergreen ivy. Which the robins like. Robins frequently nest in here. There's a large ornamental weeping ash tree, but this area, I don't cut it, I just leave it, and it's like a wildlife meadow. Early in the season it's cowslips, at the moment it's oxeye daisies and bird's foot trefoil and various fine grasses. And again, the bees love the bird's foot trefoil in particular. And at the end of the year I just cut it and then just leave it till the following year. I don't do anything with it at all. There's no fertilisers or anything added to this. You can see the hedge all the way around. I decided to use this largest area for woodland. I've always liked woodland. And the main species would be hazel and oak, because they are homes for a vast number of insects which would encourage insect-eating birds, and the hazelnuts, of course, would provide food for small mammals and woodpeckers, and maybe the occasional squirrel. I haven't seen one so far. And there are in here about 50 oak trees and over 100 hazel bushes. And here you can see the hazelnuts developing for this year, and there are lots of them. Thousands of them. The whole of this plot is surrounded by a double avenue of hazel bushes. And much of the area has just been left to grow wild. Here you can see lots of clover, which the bees love. And lots of other insects, hoverflies and little grasshoppery things leaping about. And it's taken 20 years to get to this stage. And through all this there's a series of paths, so you can sort of meander around and have a look and see what's there. And there are one or two other native species. These are silver birch. They're basically a weed. This has just been left as a wilderness with thistles and nettles and things to provide food for caterpillars, particularly moths and butterflies. And you get the wildflowers. Here's some campions coming to the end of their flowering days. And some of the hawthorn I've just let grow into trees. Problem with hedges, when you cut them, you tend to cut off all the berries, but these trees produce lots of haws, which are food for birds in the winter time. And there are places for little insects. This is for mason bees in particular. There's a little mason bee house, although this one here has just been, I just knocked it up and drilled some holes into some pieces of wood. But there's a mason bee in there. And you can see it. It's just gone in. Oh, it's just disappeared. And it come back out. There's quite a few. There's one in there, just disappeared back in. Up there's a bat box. Now I do get pipistrelles flying about the house. Whether they're in there or not, I don't know. There are various bird boxes, but at the moment they're all covered over this bosnaga, which is going berserk, taking over the whole of the house. And I was persuaded by various TV pundits to help the declining hedgehog population by putting out bowls of cat food. So you'd think with all that it would be a wildlife idyll. Nothing could be further from the truth. I've got a little crib here so I don't miss anything out. so I keep looking down, that's what I'm looking at. This year I noticed that the resident blue tits, the great tits, robins and hedge sparrows with their sort of bright colours and lovely birdsong had disappeared. There weren't any at all. And there were a few visitors from the wildlife from the surrounding farmland. I first noticed it at the bird bath, where over a period of a couple of months the only visitors were sort of resident sparrows, blackbirds, pigeons, and occasional visits from goldfinches and starlings. I also discovered around the garden 2 disemboweled young hedgehogs and the remains of a leveret, a young hare, which I found particularly distressing. There you can see the remains of the skull, just crushed. There's all its intestines. So I bought a trail camera. That's one of these cameras which you set up and it's triggered by movement and heat, so you don't have to be there all the time. And I put it in the garden both day and night to find out what was going on when I wasn't there. And I discovered that I wasn't feeding the hedgehog population. I discovered that the garden is overrun with cats. Now the problem isn't with the cats. I mean, cats do what cats do. They kill things. The problem is with the cat owners. Now just to set the record straight, I'm not against cats per se. I appreciate that they provide much pleasure and entertainment for their owners, and they're good company for lonely people and the elderly. They require next to no effort to keep. I mean, they're basically pets for lazy people. You don't have to take them out for walks, and there's no cages to build or clean out at regular intervals. My main grievance is that by simply allowing them to wander freely, in other words, just kicking them out at night, their neighbours, like myself, we have to suffer cats defecating all over the garden. I mean, cat faeces carry all sorts of unpleasant diseases. And it's particularly worrying if you've got children in the garden. They spray their urine all over your property, up your walls, your garden seats, you name it. It stinks. And, purely for pleasure, they indiscriminately kill any small bird or mammal which passes their way. And this reduces, obviously, the pleasures which birds and other creatures provide, which people like myself have spent much time and effort encourage them into our gardens. So this wildlife idyll, which I thought I was creating, is nothing of the sort. What I was creating was a killing field for cats. And there are hundreds of thousands of us. We've all been encouraged to do this by the media, particularly TV programmes, wildlife programmes, and by lots of wildlife organisations, the RSPB, the RSPCA and so on. Most people have done this, who've created what they thought was a wildlife haven. They won't even know this. And I suspect they'll be annoyed and possibly distressed to find out that that's what they've been doing. There's very little we can do about it. The law is very much on the cat owner's side, unfortunately. I've tried all kinds of things. The latest being a device which sprays water when triggered by movement or heat, and there is in fact a separate video on this. I would try to put them both together, but they're in different formats, and I'm not clued up enough to find out how in fact you can get these two formats together to make just one video. So they unfortunately they do have to be separate. So in 2018 it was estimated there were 8 million cats in the United Kingdom. If we assume each cat kills 2 creatures in a week, I mean some kill more, that's getting on for 1,000 million small creatures killed by cats every year. It's particularly important at this time of year, in July, when young fledglings are about and they're easy prey for cats. I came across this display in Australia. They have a similar problem with cats killing the native creatures. It's causing great concern to the extent that many councils are bringing in laws to prevent cat owners from allowing their pets just to wander freely. And in this country I think it's something that we really need to look at. Anyway, you'll have your own ideas about that. So there we are, and it's very upsetting, to say the least. Cat owners, take note. Anyway, take care. See you again. Bye-bye.